This is the heart wreath that I'm going to show you how to make. A heart wreath isn't just for Valentine's Day. I think this is going to be a decoration that's going to be around your home all year round, no matter which room it's in. And a nice little tip would be to put something fragrant inside the hearts as you're stuffing it. So that could be a little bit of potpourri, or maybe some oil on the toy filler that's stuffing these, or even a little bit of lavender, whatever fragrance you like. I think this would be wonderful. It's actually quite a quick make because I've glued most of this together. You can hand sew if you prefer, but for speed's sake, because this isn't going to go in the washing machine or anything like that, glue works perfectly well. So I'm using a hot glue gun in this tutorial, but if you have a silicone glue or a strong wet fabric glue, those could work equally as well too. Now I've used a 10-inch ring for this one. If you're going to make the ring larger or smaller, I would increase or decrease the size of the hearts, because if you have a larger ring and you just add more hearts, you're going to have a bigger gap in the middle. So the smaller heart in the centre here isn't going to cover all of the points on the back. So that would be a little bit of a tip for you. And I've just used a florist's wire ring, and these are again available in different sizes, and they're different widths sometimes as well. So the one I've used for this wreath has got 3 bars going around it. This one's only got 2, but it really doesn't make any difference. You don't look so much at the ring, you're going to be looking at the hearts. Now I've put 7 hearts on here. They've each got their own little bow. On this one I've used a different coloured bow for each one of the hearts, and I've used different coloured fabrics. But again, you don't have to do that. You can make this all in reds and pinks. You could make it in greys and lilacs, or any colour that you like. You could have the same colour bow as I'm going to do on the next one. So again, you can use exactly the same fabric as I have and make them all different, or you could use your own imagination and create this in any kind of fabric that you like. You could even make it from things like denim. So let's have a list of everything that you're going to need to get going, and let's get going. Now first of all, I've cut out my hearts, and for the elongated heart you've got 7 of these, and there's 2 pieces for each heart. I'm going to sew these wrong sides together, which seems a little bit alien because normally anything that you sew together is right sides together, but we're going to have the frayed edges on the outside of the heart. So I'm going to sew all the way around, but leave a gap of around about 1 inch or so just in one side so that I can get the toy filler inside there. So I'm just using around about 1/4 inch seam allowance. Go a couple of stitches backwards before you go forwards. Stop with the needle in the down position while you pivot around and sew around the second side. Nice and gently around the curves. Stop when you get to the point, pivot and round to the second side. And again stop, leaving that little bit of a turning gap. A stuffing gap, if you will. So let's just trim away the little loose thread here to keep it reasonably tidy. Now we're going to fray the edges. Now because most of these cuts are on the bias, the fabric isn't going to really fray a lot. It'll fluff more than fray. To help that along, you could use a nail brush or a little scrubbing brush. If you don't have any of those to hand, then just use the blunt side of your scissors and gently run this over that raw edge, and you'll start to see that edge go fluffy. So just keep going with it. You can actually be quite aggressive with it, and we just want the edges to fray just that little bit. I'll do the other side as well. There we go. So it's just starting to look a little bit shabby, a little bit tatty, but that's exactly the kind of look we want. Okay, now we're going to put some toy filler inside. Don't need a lot for this. You may find that a pair of tweezers helps. So let's open out the opening. And whenever you put toy filler into something like this, do it in small bursts. because if you put a big lump in all in one go, you'll have a big lump in the middle. Whereas if you put smaller pieces in you go, it tends to be a little bit more even. Particularly if you're doing things like dolls' legs, you know the Tilda dolls that have very skinny legs and skinny arms. Tiny little pieces in long, thin things like that will make sure that it's nice and even. Now we don't want to overstuff these, we want them to be padded but not really plump. So a little bit down into the point, and you can see how little toy filler I'm actually using. One more piece in the middle, that should be fine. There, that's as much as you need. Then move the toy filler out of the way of the gap, and we're going to put these back underneath the sewing machine and just sew that opening closed. So that's one heart almost finished apart from the bow. So tiny bows I'm using. You could again really go to town with these and maybe put a piece of ribbon on top of a piece of lace and make a bow. You could have them just out of lace. You could add a few beads. Little strings of beads would look lovely. That would really give a vintage kind of feel. You could add a button or a bead, a little pearl bead would be very much in keeping. But I'm just going to put a little bow just in the centre here, and I'm going to glue that on. Again, if you prefer, you could hand sew. So just a little dot of glue on the back, and again, it doesn't have to be a glue gun. This could be any type of, out you come, there you go, wet glue. As it's a smaller little bit that I'm doing, then maybe the tweezers again, so I don't get the hot glue anywhere near my fingers. And that dries almost instantly. Then you'll need to repeat that with 6 more. Like so. I'll just reach across and pick these up. So there's my 7 hearts in total. Then we'll need 1 heart from the fatter shape, which is here, and that's going to go right in the centre like so. So now we need to decorate the wreath. So with your wreath fabric, tear it into strips, and the reason I've torn it is so that again you get those frayed edges. Just get a little bit messy, but that's fine. Pull off these loose threads. You don't see so much of this on the wreath, but it's a lot prettier than just looking at wire. And then we're simply going to wrap this around. Now, depending on the thickness of your wreath, you might not actually need 3 strips, or you could go over a couple of times and make it a little bit more padded. So you've got plenty of fabric in your materials list anyhow. They'd make nice wedding decorations actually, wouldn't they? You could even use the same fabric as bridesmaids' dresses or part of the wedding dress if you're having that made. That would look stunning. Hanging on the back of chairs maybe. I think that would be really pretty. Or if you're really tidy with them as well, you could actually have these for the bridesmaids to carry. You know, sometimes they have those little posies. But that would look really nice. There we go. I think my glue got a little bit stuck in there. So there's one. Only needs a couple on this one. So I can just keep winding until that's all finished. Now polystyrene rings would work well. You may find that your glue melts the polystyrene, so maybe pinning into that would be better, as long as you don't have little ones anywhere near it that could spike themselves. Or proper polystyrene glue, of course, would work. Right, almost to the beginning where we started. And I'm just going to make sure that my final piece here finishes at the back, because I don't want to see the glue from the front. There we go. There. Now to hang this, I've just got a piece of very strong thread. That could be embroidery thread, it could be fine cord. This just happens to be crochet thread. And I'm just going to go on the back, in and out. It doesn't need to be double this particular thread because it's really strong. String would be nice as well, depending on, of course, the type of fabric that you're using. Could be a hessian or a burlap. That would work well. Oh, that would be really good, wouldn't it? You'd have a really rustic feel to your wreath. So just tie that in a knot like so, and then knot at the back. That's how it's going to hang. So let's arrange the hearts on here. So I'm going to try to spread the pinks out a little bit because these seem to be predominantly pink flowers. So one at the top. There, I think that looks well balanced. Now if you wanted to, you can actually mark where these are going to go. So I know one's right in the centre here. And we need to make sure that the points aren't too far apart, because remember the centre heart is going to go over the top, so it needs to be able to touch all of the points. So don't spread your hearts out too far like this. You're going to have a floating heart in the centre. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Oh, one missing. Look, I should have 7. Look at me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's better. Right, let's remark. That one's okay. So across for you, across for you, across for you. One there, one there, one there. Right. So we'll have a spot of glue over here. And that one, so a generous dollop, I would say. And again, if you're using hot glue, it does dry very quickly, even when you've got loads on there. And you. See how quick this is coming together as well. It's a very quick make. But it looks a lot of work. You know, if you're going to be selling these, or you've got lots of gifts to make, or you are doing a lot of decorations, you can see how quickly this is all coming together. Right, so that's my hearts, and I think those are spread out really nicely. You could, to stop them wobbling a little bit, now they're all in place, just add a little bit more glue underneath here. So I'm just holding that down for a second while it dries. And again, if you prefer, there's no reason why you couldn't hand sew these. Just get a little bit impatient. Are we almost there? Yes, 2 more. I think that's where oh no, one more here. Can't remember where I started. There, okay. Now when that's dry, which again won't take very long, I know that's the top again, I'm going to put a little dab of glue on each one of the points of those hearts, right on the end, and then sit that little heart right over the centre. So right on the very points. All of the extra hair-like bits of glue from glue guns, you can either use a hair dryer or a heat gun. and just blow those away. There we go, that's nice and central. Just hold that one down again. Just for a few seconds till they're all dry. Make sure that one's attached under here as well. Oh, under you go. A little bit of wiggle room, seeing as, oops, I've used quite big blobs of glue. There we go. And that is my wreath finished. Or you could personalise it as well, couldn't you? You could put initials on there. Particularly if it's for a wedding or an engagement party or something like that. So you could have, I don't know, I heart you, or initials or dates and things like that. But see how quickly that's come together and how pretty it is. So I'm really pleased with my wreaths. I hope you will be with yours, and I hope you enjoy making them.